wealth and prosperity and fulfillment don't always come monetarily. It's more about what I was missing in life.
Welcome to More Business, More Life podcast. Today I have a dear friend and client, Mike Bailey from Lockhart Bailey Group in real estate. And when I met Mike, he was running 4+ businesses and had some other investments with his mom and going for success. And on the outside, everything is amazing, right? It looks like millions of dollars and all these success and over 600 real estate agents, property management, staging company, all these things. But what we're going to cover in this episode is how that was just breaking down his life. And while you're reaching for success to reach for those end dollars, it wasn't giving him the life that he wanted. And then we're going to talk about how did he recreate the way he does business, actually doing less and making more, and now being a family man and enjoying the time with his kids and his wife and his extended family beyond. And you might say, wow, less and having more. Yes. And this is an episode you're not going to want to miss. Watch through the whole thing, because I did the same thing, by the way, and I'm going to share that too. And then I was able to transform my life by doing some of the things that we're going to teach right now and share our stories on this episode. So let's jump in. Mike, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I think this conversation is going to be a gift. Thanks for doing it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you just heard that intro that I just did. Like, if we start with a highlight, and then we can dig into like what it was like, because sometimes letting go of your businesses can be scary, because it's like, oh, we have a revenue, but like, how would you highlight if you were to say like, this is what it was and this is where it is now, what would be your highlight?
Oh gosh, man, I ended up with my hand in just about everything. And when I get into something like real estate, all these offshoots of real estate, I wanted to take a hand in. And it got pretty crazy. So we had 4 true businesses, one being just real estate sales and our team, running that team and so forth. Then we had a real estate company that we ran for 10 years, but that was going on in the background, and that went up to about 600 or so agents. So I was pretty big. And then we had a staging company and a property management company. And
for those that don't know what staging is, like in real estate, you bring all the furniture. So now you're like a moving company, like literally trucks, moving furniture in and out of houses.
Literally selling real estate. And then I was also a mover. I drove the truck, the big, like a rental truck.
Wow.
I drove that thing to houses and staged my own houses for the most part in the beginning.
And you own those trucks too.
We own the trucks, and we had a almost 5,000 square foot warehouse of furniture, but people don't realize that what you got to do to maintain the furniture, fix it, and hire help to be in there all the time and organize it. And, there's a lot of things to it other than just thinking that I could go stage a home and sell it for more, and I could do this for multiple agents. And, that was my thought process in the beginning. But I wanted to get involved in all these things because it was, it related to real estate, which I really enjoyed after a 20-year career somewhere else.
It does overlap. It makes sense. Like from the perspective of looking at it, it's like, oh, duh, we're already here. We might as well do it. And if we can make money doing these things and make it better, it's not just the money too. You were, making it better. Like if you're selling a home and you stage it properly, you can tend to sell the house for more because it's properly, it's like anything you polish it. If you want to sell a car, you're going to wash it, wax it, clean it. I mean, it's like presenting the house in a really good way. So, so it's not like these weren't stupid ideas, but it was just a lot of stuff. And then and then the one I cut you off, the last one was the property management.
Yeah. Property management. You talk about owl clients, I guess. I shouldn't say that on camera probably. But
well, it's not necessarily owl clients, but I remember when you were telling me it's just an owl situation, because most of the time, if you're not hearing from your tenants, everything's good. But if you hear from the tenant, then it's like something's wrong. So it's not necessarily the people that are out, but it's the situation.
Yeah. You only hear from them when they're complaining or what have you.
Yeah.
But, I was used to that. I had a long career prior to this, and I only dealt with those type of issues. So I was used to it. But one thing I should preface first is that, I didn't start the property management. Well, I started the property management, but I didn't start the staging because my mom was already a realtor here. She's a very successful realtor. Her name was Rennie Merrifield. And she started this staging as an offshoot to help her sell homes.
Right.
And we always offered it for free to our clients. So it became a really nice feature or a nice aspect of our business.
Like a bonus.
Like a bonus to stage our clients' homes for free. And we still do it today.
Okay.
However, the time and effort that it took to do that was crazy. And then we had to, excuse me, we opened it up to all the agents in our company. So we would stage our clients or our agents' homes if they wanted. And we did it for way less than we should have. It was more of a burden on us. And we were doing it for the most part because we wanted to grow our company.
Right.
And we could get more listings by staging more houses and sell them for a higher price. So it meant that we were making more money. But personally, my mom and I, we were out driving trucks and moving furniture to other agents' homes to stage them or help stage them. And
like literally. Yeah. You're like, okay, let me get that. Did you have people loading the trucks or you were loading too?
We hired, boy, it was like you couldn't.
I know we're going back in time.
Yeah, you couldn't hire a true staff to work there full time because it was, not always something going. But we did have a person inside the warehouse. We'd bring the furniture back and they would organize it and put it back. But furniture is not light.
No,
and it's not something easy to put away and fix all the time. So it was tough.
Yes. I mean, because even if you have one person in the warehouse, like I suppose if there's a big couch or a sectional or something, you're going to have extra, people there so they can like literally pick it up, Right. And then I understand because you don't know how many listings you're going to have in a month. So 1 month you could have 11 and 1 month you could have 4. And so then having full-time staff could be an issue. So basically you're like just getting man hours as you could, or you literally filled in is what I'm hearing. So you'd be like, oh, I can't get someone, so I'll go lift the couch.
Yeah. And this staging portion of it, I mean, it became kind of it almost was funny. Like when you and I got together and talked about all these businesses, it was kind of funny because we were taking on the burden of trying to help all of our other agents, the agents in the company, to grow the company at the cost of us. And so you mentioned that we made millions and so forth. That's not quite true in staging because staging, we made no money.
Right.
When you added in our hours and labor and and then,
I guess I was collecting all 4 of your companies.
Yeah.
In that case, it's true.
Was
the lost leader.
The lost leader, but it helped us get listings. So it did help the revenue side, but it really was tough when you're not totally working and focused, and that's my sole job, and I'm going to build that company, and I'm going to grow it to be a successful company, like so many other staging companies. This was an internal thing.
Yeah, it wasn't your main passion or focus. But it makes sense. I mean, so this is where it makes sense. If someone listening to this, it's not like, oh, this was a dumb idea. Like, I mean, when you look at it on paper, it's like, okay, we're gonna have a better opportunity for, someone that wants to list their home. Why would they not go with your company? Because you're going to, add that staging aspect that you already have. There's no calling anyone except for like your own team and say, okay, we got another listing. This is what we need. And then, you're bringing all that stuff over. And then also when you go to recruiting for your other company, when you had the, 600 agents, if they could get a discount staging because they're part of your firm, that's like a recruiting bonus. So I could see all the bonuses. And then, yes, so staging might not be profitable, but then it was helping all the other companies. But the problem with it was this would only work. And remember when you and I met, I said, okay, Mike, this works if you're not doing anything there. It has to be completely delegated, which was not true. And then you're already losing money on it. So I could see the math. You're looking at the paper and you're like, I can't hire a bunch of people, then I'm going to lose even more money. So that was the dilemma, right?
It was a dilemma. And one thing you helped us realize, because you worked with my mom too, was that it really wasn't saving us money to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and we got into that mindset, or my mom was a big culprit. I mean, she would stay up all night doing things, but she didn't see the cost of that.
Yeah, and consequence even beyond cost, right? Your life. Sorry to jump in on that.
No, that's true. I mean, that's what you helped us with, is just looking at it from a different angle, because we were both single at the time. My mom was single and I was single, and we were working 24 hours a day for the most part. You know, I told you the other night that I had a little apartment after my divorce, and I just like a cave with 2 desks in it, and I would come home from work to work.
Wow.
You know, it was a bad situation.
And that'll keep you single.
Yeah, that'll keep me single, especially the twin bed that I had stolen out of staging.
Okay, so there's another perk. You got a bed out of it.
Yeah, I could have furniture. I could have furnished that thing pretty good. But the other thing about staging that's kind of funny is that you have to buy furniture. So the more houses you have, the more furniture you need. And if the market turns or the cycle turns, your furniture is in somebody's house for months, you know. So you're just sitting out there with inventory out there in all these houses. And then you have to pick that furniture up and move it by the time it closes. So to coordinate that is a whole nother full-time job.
It literally is a moving company.
It is a moving company. I respect the stagers that do it well.
Yeah.
But honestly, we didn't do it well, and we didn't make any money at it other than the extra or the peripheral revenue that we made in our other businesses that did better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So your other companies are funding this company, and then you are funding the labor, which is like crazy when you break it down. So in all this, you know, you're working 24/7. You're like selling houses. You're building your real estate company with other agents. You're doing the property management, and you're running around, you know, being a mover. You're literally driving the trucks and moving the furniture. That was a lot, Mike.
Yeah. You know, you made me realize how much that was, and how I couldn't concentrate on the thing that I was good at was selling real estate. You know, I felt very confident and very comfortable in real estate, and I loved working with people and building those relationships and helping them fulfill their dream.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't want to let those people down, right? So you were in all aspects. In 2007, 2008, we had 50 listings on the market, maybe even more at some points, because they were sitting for a long time. Yeah. It wasn't abnormal for something to sit on the market for a year, sometimes longer.
Wow.
We had a lot of distressed property, of course, REOs and short sales at the time. So those things were sitting on the market. You were constantly getting calls from disgruntled sellers, right? What are you doing to sell my house? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So those things were going on at that time. And it was rough through those periods. You know, we lost a lot of real estate agents during that time.
Yeah.
So a lot of team members leave and so forth.
Yeah.
But then, you know, during that, the whole premise of me telling you about the distressed properties in 2007 was because all those 50 listings, we noticed that they wanted to start renting them out and take them off the market, you know, and start renting it out to get some revenue coming in so they can pay their mortgage.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So when we started that property management company, it was because my mom and I had quite a few rentals of our own. And we were tired of, that was almost like another job, taking care of your own rentals, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, we decided to make it easier on ourselves and start a property management company. We had the licenses to do it. However, that's a job in itself too. I mean, if you're not fully involved in property management, there's a lot of legal laws, things that you have to look out for. And we weren't on top of our game in property management either, even though we wanted to be, because we were managing our own rentals too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We knew what service we wanted, so we wanted to give that to our clients.
Yeah.
Give them a wow experience, but we didn't.
Yeah. And it's not like you're, because I know you and people are listening to this, Mike is a great guy and you really do care. And that's like, even when you said you want to do the greatest job in real estate and making sure people get in their dream home, what happened, and these are all great ideas, right? Because like, I'm going to add more service. Oh, my clients need, so you were like listening. You're like, my clients need to rent their property. We need more help. Oh, it makes sense. Let's have a property management. The same with staging. Yeah. We need to stage it better. Let's do that. And then in the end though, building all those things at the same time, how can you give it the proper attention? Right.
That's right. And we didn't get in there to manage that process ourselves. We hired property managers and had offices, and all that was it was a big headache, put it that way. But it served a purpose back then because we were renting out and retaining clients.
Right.
We were retaining clients. So we got up to 300 doors, which, 300 residential properties, gets a little mesmerizing sometimes with all the calls that you get. And once again, you only get the calls from folks that have something going wrong with their house, or renters that have a broken pipe or something like that.
Yes.
But we did hire, but it's hard to retain the good employees sometimes. And we went through our share of employees and ups and downs in the property management business. See, we even got audited. We got audited. And that was a thing by the DRE at the time. They would audit even small companies. Because in the big scheme of things, we were a small property management company. 300 doors is nothing. But they came to us and said, we were off on one of our, the trust account.
Okay.
But we really weren't. We were just using an accounting software that they weren't used to. And so in the long run, we were fine.
Yeah. So, but you had to prove it.
But we had to prove it for 6 months. We had somebody in the office. And so it was taking us out of real estate, out of everything else. We had to hire an accountant. We put an attorney on retainer. And the whole thing cost us $30,000 just to get audited, Yeah. And then the DRE charges you too.
Wow.
They're it was self-funded at the time, and so they were auditing a lot of smaller companies.
Wow.
And so that was my experience in property management. We even hired the wrong employees that would take money and not be as truthful as you would like in that type of a situation. But it's our fault when we look back on it, because we didn't push ourselves into that business. We kind of ran it from afar, so to speak.
Well, and how many hours do you really have? I mean, like, add all this up. So you're saying all this. Look at what you're saying out loud here. Like, all this, plus the staging company, plus you have 600 agents that you're part of a bigger firm, and you're still out there selling real estate. So doing listing presentations, getting houses on listed, and then also showing homes probably. I mean,
that was
there's the 24 hours.
Yeah, those things were going crazy. I had a good small team at the time. I mean, there was only 5 people on my team at any one time. Keep it small. I trained new people to have all my bad habits.
Right, they follow us.
They follow. And then and so that side kept it going. That's how I ate. I mean, realistically, they were generating revenue, and I would sell or list, and everybody was working together on that side. And I did have a partner in my business at the real estate company that he was the CEO of the company, and I did some extra peripheral stuff. But I owe him a lot of credit for building the company up during those times. And I did it. I recruited through what I do. What you spoke at the other day was PCAR. And
the Placer County Association of Realtors.
Yeah. So I did the Placer Association of Realtors marketing committee, and I led those meetings for 18 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And after telling myself I never wanted to get up on stage again and talk to people.
And now you do it every week.
Yeah. Now I do it every week.
Yeah.
We tend to gravitate back, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had staging, property management, the real estate company, my own real estate team. And I told you last night about an investment I made in Oklahoma that went totally crazy, but that was almost like another job too.
Yeah.
But
and then volunteering for PCAR. So really, and that may not as much time, but still you had like 5 or 6 different activities, and no wonder you're working 24/7.
Yeah. And I felt kind of like, you know, I look back on it now and it's almost like, why was I doing that? You know, why was I spread so thin? And I think back to maybe it was my own ego or me thinking that I had to run all these things so more people would need me, you know, and want to work with me or think I was successful.
Yeah, so it's not even necessarily for power. Sometimes when people think about ego, they look at it as like power or greed, but in this way too, like for your heart, because like, and now knowing you, like it's just feeling like you wanted to be valued and needed, and that feels good, right? Like people need your help, and then you can add value to their lives. So it is like sipping on that cup in a good way. And again, another reason, like this actually makes more sense in that part of the ego, because it makes more sense to keep adding, because you're like, oh, this feels good. I'm helping people. Oh, let's add another business and another business. And I don't know if this is true for you, but for me, I did a very similar thing. And that's why you and I related when we met so quickly, because I did the same thing. Because when you start growing in business, everyone says multiple streams of income, multiple streams of income. But no one person ever said to me, until I finally got the right mentor, one at a time.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yeah. Like you could do that. Like let's say if we were rewind and you built each of those one at a time. Let's say you spent 3 to 5 years, because that's really what it usually takes to get a good business running. And now you know all the years you put in. You spent 3 to 5 years building the staging company, like rock stars, hiring all the right people, like spending all the time in there, and then it's making money and you exit. Then you build the property management, and 3 to 5 years, get all the rock star employees and everything running, and then you can exit and just be advisor, you know, one at a time. But here we are, and I did the same thing, Mike. You know, a lot of us are not immune to these ideas. It made sense at the time, but then when you look back at it, it's like we're building 4 things at the same time. So you're doing like building 4 skyscrapers with the same construction crew. So they're only able to work 25% of the time at each construction site. Then it takes you like a millennia to like build 4 companies.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the things that really hit home for me when I was working with you back in those times was when you drew it out for me. And I remember so vividly how you did this. You drew out 2 cliffs, yep. You know, 2 tall cliffs, and there was a big canyon in the middle of it. And you drew a line that said staging, and you drew it halfway over the cliff, like we were building a bridge to the other side.
Yep.
The other side represented success,
yep.
prosperity, fulfillment. I started with staging, I started with property management, and I got halfway over on everything I was doing. And so it was very vivid and very clear in my mind what I had 4 or 5 things going, but I'm only halfway over the canyon and I haven't reached the other side. I've never built the bridge to the other side solely, or looked at what I was good at and identified that and said, I'm going to stick with that and I'm going to put that on the other side. And then if I want to go somewhere else, I could. But I never did it until I saw that from you. And I probably still have the diagram.
Oh,
Probably still have the paper you drew it on.
Oh, that would be great if you had a photo of that. We could put it up. Yeah,
I would put it up in my office today. But so this is 9 years ago that we did this. And so when I talk to my agents now and I do my training and stuff, I relate that to a lot of different things.
Right.
Like it could,
because it can go micro.
You could go micro, but it relates to, I'm still drawing out the cliffs, you know?
Yeah. Because even in one business, we could have 4 bridges going across in the same business.
Yeah.
Because you could be like building your marketing or making a new website, or we can distract ourselves. We're so delusional. Yeah. And then, you know, it's like, well, what's the first bridge to get across so we're profitable? And then, oh, okay, now let's do some more of this or do some more of this. So I'm with you. Like you can even break that down into daily activities. You can say, what 4 bridges did I make today? You know, and not realize that none of them got across. Yeah, right?
That's true. I mean, in real estate, you know, if you're breaking it down, some things that we're talking about now, my wife and I,
so you're not single anymore?
No, I'm not single anymore because I got out of the cave.
Congratulations!
She set me up. I mean, my whole life is totally different once I met Emily.
Yeah,
Emily Lockhart. You know how our name is Lockhart Bailey Group.
Yep.
Lockhart comes first.
Okay, that's it.
Wife comes first.
Yeah,
but so. Yeah, I'm happy that I met her, and now we have 2 great kids as well. And
congratulations.
So, yeah, wealth and prosperity and fulfillment don't always come monetarily. It's more about what I was missing in life.
Yeah.
You know, I was older. I'm 58 years old now, but I had my son at 52.
Yeah.
And so I was older, and I thought, gosh, when I met Emily, I felt like I was never going to have any kids, and I was sad about that. You know, I wanted kids from when I was in my first marriage, but then I had my daughter 10 months ago. So I'm 58, have a 10-month-old daughter, and it's been a life-changing event. That's something I knew I wanted all my life. It was like, that's what I want, is a family, you know, to take care of. And now I've got another story on this.
Go for it.
But I'm kind of all over the
No,
board
it's okay.
right
That's how this is. And I interrupted you because I wanted to say, oh, you're not single, and I derailed you. But I just want to say it fills me with joy to see how happy you are, because I do remember how scattered it was, and you were trying so hard to make it all work. And it did all on paper. It made sense. Like you said, it's not like you were being foolish and just like throwing darts at a wall. Everything fit in kind of a puzzle, but no puzzle piece could get enough attention to like fully be created, hence the unfinished bridges, right? And so yeah, so anyway, that's why I was highlighting. But yeah, go for it. Go tell your story. Yeah.
Well, gosh, let's see what story.
We were talking about how the unfinished bridges in real estate work in a day-to-day. I think that's where we were. Yeah.
So when I was young, my sister and I are 3 years apart, so kind of close in age, but we were very competitive, right? And we wanted to be very successful in our lives, but we really didn't know how to define success.
Okay.
You know, so we had a goal of success, meaning a lot of money.
Yeah. You know, that's always the first one, right? Because
Yeah. So that's all we thought about. And so she went her life and I went my life. So I went into a corporate world, and I was the yes man that said yes to every move, and I ended up moving a lot of times. And I went up in the company, and I felt like I made a decent amount of money, you know, for what it was. Well, I looked back when I was 38 at my sister, who, really went a different way. She looked at life a little bit differently than I did after college.
Okay.
And she married a great guy, you know, that they didn't make a lot of money. They really didn't have to make a lot of money to be happy. So these two get together and they decide we're going to save our money and save every penny we got and keep on doing our job. She was a court reporter and he was a teacher, but at a private school. So he decided that he would make more money just by mowing lawns and landscaping for people. So he,
like on the side,
but he actually quit teaching. He made more money mowing lawns, honestly.
Yeah.
But he was happy because he only did that maybe 2-3 days a week. And the rest of the time they homeschooled their kids, And so their kids turned out perfect. I mean, they're just beautiful kids. They went to a school back in, where is this now? Not Tennessee, but maybe South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. Bob Jones University. I think
Okay.
it's in South Carolina. But both got master's degrees and, just really good, great kids. And so I'm looking back at this at 38, and they own their house outright. They saved their money and bought a $100,000 house. And I was not saving my money, but buying all these big houses and multiple. I tried to work up to having multiple houses.
Yeah. Again, another business, by the way, because then that's revenue, renting, all that stuff. But it's work. It's all work.
It is. But so I look back at that. At 38, I'm thinking, who won this little competition we had going on in the back of our heads, And I realized that, even though you make more money than she does, you really lost this competition because, I don't have kids. My marriage was on the rocks, I was traveling a lot. I had moved 13 times, 13 relocations around the country. And
that's wild.
I said, gosh, I have nothing. I don't even have friends in one state for longer than 6 months. And I couldn't tell you who they are now because it was so in and out and quick,
Yeah.
And I was a different person in that job. So when I looked at it from that standpoint at 38, I said, I have to make a change. I have to do something different because I am definitely not where I want to be at 38.
Yeah.
So that's when I quit. I quit UPS is where I worked, and I quit that, living in Colorado, had no idea where I wanted to go. So I had lived in a lot of different places. So I felt like, well, maybe I can live anywhere, which my favorite place. But it kept coming back to California because of family was here.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, well, I probably should be here. And I came here, bought a house, and my wife was still in Colorado at the time. And we finally moved out here and ended up divorced.
During that move?
No,
she came
in
and
the
then...
next 5 years, I'd say.
Okay. So
we tried to make it work,
Yeah.
But I was telling you last night that I was very closed because I didn't want to be seen as failing or not, rising to the level.
Yeah.
I always felt like I wanted to be the person that people came to ask questions, or I would do what I could to help them.
Yeah.
Succeed.
Not get help ourselves. And I was the same. I can relate to you once again. I was embarrassed whenever I didn't know something and I wouldn't tell anyone. I would try to figure it out myself. That meant even if I had to stay up late and read something or the research, but I wasn't about to ask anyone else because then they would look at me and see that I was failing. Which now I have the complete opposite realization that people that are wiser than us or know a little bit, and it doesn't mean that we're not smarter than them. For me, I'm going to speak for my own thing. Like I found that it's not about smarter or not smart enough. It's just they know something about that topic more than I do. I might know something more about a different topic that they don't know. So there's no like exact equal or disequal or less than or more than. Ultimately, though, I made way more sacrifices in my life because I was delusional on that. And I thought that if I ask for help, then I'm a loser. They're going to see me. They're going to see that I'm not who I am and I'm a failure. But the reality is we're all young men trying to figure it out. and we're no different than anyone else. And once you realize that, like, because I guess that, there's a delusion in that. And I don't know if I've ever said this out loud, but now having you say, it's like we're thinking that everyone else has it figured out and we don't. And we better not let anyone else see that. And that's like ridiculous now, knowing as we've gotten older, wait a minute, like everyone has challenges.
Right.
But I'm just echoing this, so there you are in your marriage and in your work, and you're trying to say, even though I'm challenged, I'm not going to let anyone know.
Yeah, I didn't let anyone know. I didn't even tell my sister how I felt.
Yeah.
And she won in my mind. I knew she won.
Was there really a competition, or was it you?
There's really a competition.
No, or you actually said it to each other. Okay.
In college, we said, well, she would say, I'm going to be more successful than you. And as kids, she said, I could beat you up if I really wanted to.
Oh my gosh. It was that competitive.
Yeah, it was that competitive. But I would hold her head, and she'd swing and swing. But anyway, she's a great person, and she's got a lot of success in what she does now, with thousands of followers on.
Wow.
Yeah, she just started making cookies to send her kids to school.
Oh, wow.
To college. And she made them, and lo and behold, she has thousands of followers who come to her because she won the cookie-thon or cookathon or something.
She's a winner.
It's a big thing with
She's
cookies.
A winner. Yeah. Well, yeah, people like cookies.
You should see them.
Yeah.
You should see how elaborate they're decorated.
Wow. Okay.
They look like the real thing. But that's
that's cool, and congratulations to your sister, and then also congratulations to you, because even though it felt like a loss, it was also a win, because what we're talking about right now is a massive life lesson about being confused of what a win is, because there wasn't like a true scoreboard. It's not like, oh, she made 10 baskets and in the hoop, like if we were playing basketball, it's not that equal of a thing, right? It's like, what is success is kind of what we're pondering in this conversation.
Right. Well, then I said, well, if, I realized that she had won, because back then I was thinking, okay, maybe it's quality of life that is where you want more so than money, because you could have all the money in the world and just not have quality of life, right?
Yeah, and I think you could say you've done that. I mean, you full out tried.
I never had all the money in the world.
Well, nobody does. Yeah. Nobody does. But you've made more money than most people on the planet. And I'm not trying to make it a good or bad thing, but you have succeeded. I mean, each of the businesses we named had some success. I mean, it's not like you had 5 houses on property management. You had 300. There's a lot of people listening to this. They would love to have that. You have a staging company with all this furniture, 5,000 square feet, trucks. You're helping your company. You have a real estate company with 600 agents. You also have your team of 5, and you're making money there. And actually, that's bankrolling a lot of the other companies that were like setting you back. In that way, if we were measuring on that, you're extremely successful. The thing inside, though, and coming back to this conversation, inside, you're feeling horrible.
Yeah, I felt horrible because in order, to subsidize other businesses with real estate, we were spending a lot of money on marketing. And I think this is what a lot of people do in our business or our industry, is we spend on some of the wrong things, or go about it the wrong way, or with the wrong message, or not knowing what our clients want.
Yeah.
Or desire, and we're thinking it's something else.
Which you and I talked a lot about.
Yeah, just asking.
Yeah.
Just ask your clients.
Yeah.
Give them what they want.
That's it. Yeah, that's my main thing. And for everyone listening, I always say, if you don't have enough revenue and the goal is you want, there's usually, in all my years in marketing, there's 2 things that we need to inspect immediately. Are we talking to the wrong people, which I call my wow clients? And then are we saying the right thing? And the way to find out is not by being creative. And I thought this, I failed at marketing at the beginning because I went to film school and I'm like, oh, I can create this epic movie. And then no one bought from us. I'm like, what the heck happened? And then you find out, wait a minute, I have to go ask them what they want. And even if the commercial's not as cool, but it was saying exactly what they wanted, then they bought.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. So it's finding that wow client, asking them what they want, then telling them that in the marketing, in our phone calls, in our conversations, which that was, I mean, besides, so like right now we're stacking some things up. Like the first thing I recognized with you and your mom was that you had way too many businesses and they weren't delegated enough. And so we rolled our sleeves up and said, which one, what can we delegate more of? Do we want to try to save these companies? Can we hire more people and let that go so you could focus? Or do we need to let the whole company go? That was one conversation. And that's not easy to do, right? There's lots of stuff to do and it takes time to like sell a business or find the right employees, all those things. And then the second thing was the marketing, like you're saying. When you're there, when I met you, there was also some hemorrhaging of like stuff, and this happens to a lot of people. You know, a lot of business owners still to this day, many people look at marketing as a slot machine. We're just going to like try this and try that, and we're pulling down on the lever, when in reality, if we ask the questions, you can eliminate the whole slot machine and know that it's working. And that's where it comes back to knowing our wow client and then asking them what they want and using that language. So I know there were other things we worked on, but probably now having this conversation with you, those are probably the two biggest things. Would you agree that we worked on?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. You know, I never asked a client, you know, I never got so in depth with clients and really understood what they wanted. And here I thought I was good in relationships, and building relationships, and getting down to the bottom of what they wanted.
Yeah.
But I never really went the route of asking all my clients, what are you looking for? You know, what do you really want? What's your goal?
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing.
And what will having that do for you? Because sometimes even they're delusional. They're like, oh, I just want a house. Okay, well, what kind of house? Like, what's most important about the house? What's the thing that you want the most? Oh, I want a beautiful yard. Okay, well, let's put that higher on the list. You know, because someone can say, yeah, I want a house in this city. Okay, great. Right. That's pretty darn vague, right? I mean, there's like thousands of houses. Like, what one is going to be yours? So having those deep questions. So when I started giving you those mechanisms, right? They're simple questions, but they dig really deep. Like what happened for you when you started using those?
Well, so, you know, one of the things that I realized way back in the beginning was that we spent a lot of money on marketing from the standpoint of online marketing, which was newer back then. And so nobody had this secret bullet to be, well, there were some people around the country that were pretty successful. At least we heard, you know, we didn't see any numbers or anything, but you hear all these people. So what I told you the other day was, you know, I went out and found the best of the best, supposedly, and went down and spent 2 days with him 2 times and learned his systems and then brought him back to us. But I didn't, you know, I brought everything he did up here, and I spent $30,000 a month just in online marketing leads. And it looked like we were successful at getting leads.
Yeah.
You know, we got 1,600 leads a year. And when you have that many leads coming in, you have a lot of shots at the goal to take.
Right.
And you're going to get lucky sometimes. But we really didn't know how to close. And when you get into online leads, you need to know how to bring a conversation back around to what we do for a living. You know, housing. We could, you know, not just be their best friend.
Yeah, order some pizzas.
Yeah, exactly. So when you came in with my group and you were going through our group coaching, we learned the questions to ask and to identify their needs, and you know, asking those right questions and listening to them and then giving them what they wanted. We had 0 going on, and then all of a sudden a week later we have like 9 escrows going.
I remember that victory. We were so happy because I want to say it was almost 2 months with not an escrow in that division. Yeah, I think you had other thing. This work that you're talking about. So you're spending $30K on marketing. So you were like 60, 90K into this, I think. And then we asked better questions, and then you got 8 or 9 in escrow.
Yeah, we just started ramping up the closed escrows, but we still can make that 30,000 go.
Right.
With the team I had. And I was a novice at this myself. And the first thing I realized is that I don't know how to close these leads. I was scared to talk on the phone because you never did it before. Yeah. I mean, from some random person calling you online. Yeah. That was all new to us.
It's like online dating, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, it is. Yeah. I understand.
And you don't have to sound perfect. You just have to have a good conversation like we're doing now.
Yep.
With somebody and find out or ask the right questions and then listen.
Yeah. And even though that was a big victory going from zero to escrow, but again, it wasn't 30,000. That was already like 90 grand spent, at least something like that. And then even all your travel. I mean, if you add it up, you were already like over 6 figures deep in this. Because everything, right? Like traveling to this other person, doing all the research and development, even you were paying me, I mean, this is all adding up. And then we were getting a run, but it's like, how much money can you make back and how fast before you you're bleeding?
We were going bankrupt quick on that deal. I mean, it looked like being successful because we had a lot of leads coming in, a lot of people working. And when realtors get a lot of leads, they feel good about being on the team. They want leads.
Yeah, because now you have all these phone calls. And I do remember the meeting. And there's a handful of clients I've had this where I'm coaching you, and then you open up your laptop. I remember being in your boardroom and you plugged in your laptop, and then you were showing me the numbers, and you were hoping that I would give you a different answer because you were looking at the numbers too. And I remember looking in your eyes, and I'm like, yeah, Mike, the numbers aren't wrong. Like, you were hoping that I would see something like almost like you added it up wrong or something. And I'm like, no, unfortunately, this is right. Like, it just sucks. Like, you're looking at the spreadsheet, and you're like, and so that's why it wasn't just me coaching you on how to close. I was like, we don't know how long it's going to take each individual to learn this because everyone learns at different speeds. And I told you have to call them back and you have to renegotiate your contract because it's not advisable to keep spending 30 grand a month until we get everyone trained, right? So, because that's what you're racing towards. How much risk do we extend? Well, because you're getting 1,600 leads, but how many are we losing until we get everyone trained up?
Yeah, we lost a lot of leads. And I still have those leads. I still have names and numbers. And I look back to 2012 and thinking, gosh, man, they probably bought 2 or 3 houses by now.
You could, yeah.
And so you get the good with the bad with those online leads.
Yeah.
And some people are proponents of it and some people aren't. But that's where people are going to get or to look at houses first, right? So that's where you kind of want to be, number one, in those areas. But we're actually paying for our own leads. I mean, we used to put signs on a house, get 100 calls a month on that sign, right? Yeah. That's when we first started. And that was our online back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now everybody with a cell phone, it's really changed the dynamic, and I know a lot of realtors know that.
Yes. And and this is not just your industry. This is like every industry technology is touching. I mean, it's really hard to find an industry that's not affected at some level with technology, and it's only going to become exponential in the next 5 years with everything happening with AI. It's like if you and I grew up in the age where the phones were attached to the wall, we didn't have email, all this stuff. And then, the internet came and it was like crazy wild, wild west. And this is what we're talking about, like wild, wild west of real estate, online marketing. But then now AI, is the next level of that. And then think about that, most lifetimes you might not even have 2 major things like that. And here we are. We're having like 2 or 3 major milestones.
It's exponential now.
Yeah, right. So like in our lifetime, we might have 2 or 3 major changes. Whereas you think like back in the day in like the early 1900s, they're used to everyone riding around on a horse and then all of a sudden cars show up. That might be the only major milestone. So I guess I'm bringing all this up that, again, this is life. These are things happening. And I think, you're doing the best you can and we're figuring it out. And then there were a lot of costs. And so let's be mindful too. Everything you just said, that's enough problems for one entrepreneur, right? Figuring out your marketing, paying for all this marketing, training up your team. And then mind you, Mike, right here, you had like 3 or 4 other companies at the same time and each of them had their own problems. right? So, I mean, just put this in perspective. I mean, you got to give yourself credit. I mean, I know sometimes you were like embarrassed or felt like a failure, but you were doing all that plus running 3 other companies. I mean, you know,
Yeah, and
that you got to give yourself credit. You were like, in a way, you're kicking butt. It wasn't delivering the end success you wanted because you were spinning too many plates, but it's still pretty cool. Like when you're at the circus and someone's spinning 4 plates.
yeah.
I mean, you're like, wow, that's great, but they're not eating. They're not eating. Their plates are up in the air.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I got to say though that, you know, I did this with my mother, Rindy, you know.
Right.
And so she started a lot of this stuff and was very successful in business. So it's not just me, but together we're completely opposite. So, you know, so we think differently, and sometimes that helps, and sometimes it, you know, puts a roadblock in for us. And so we had to work through those roadblocks with you, because my mom's ultimate goal was to retire at some point. And I wanted that for her because, you know, I care for her, and and so it hurt when we felt like we were failing in these businesses.
Because then you feel like you're failing your mom.
Yeah, I was failing my mom. So I wanted to, and, you know, honestly, she took out loans in her business. You know, she went through a lot of up and downs in cycles of the market.
Yeah.
And she kept her staff going by taking loans out on her house.
Like
here she is, one of the most successful women in real estate, right?
Yes.
When Rockland was only 200 homes behind Bel Air, that's when my mom was here selling those 200 homes.
Wow.
Her first year or her second year, maybe, she did 125 homes alone by herself.
Wow.
And now you can't even fathom that by yourself anymore. I mean, we all have teams to do that.
Well, yeah, because your mom is a machine. I mean, this one, I mean, I got to spend time with her in a good way. I mean, but I mean, there's consequences, but yeah, she never gave up, you know, and she didn't come from real estate. I think she was a dental hygienist, right?
She was a dental hygienist when I was growing up for 23 years, and I came back from college. And
then she's this rock star. She's a rock star real estate agent.
Yeah. Dental hygienists make good realtors. That's what my determination is.
Wow. But yeah, kudos to your mom. She went and like spearheaded all this.
Well, she sacrificed a lot, you know. I mean, we had to come out of pocket with a lot of money, and a lot of it was hers, you know. And so, you know, you don't want to. What the hard part was when we were trying to break up these companies or get rid of those companies that weren't getting across, building a bridge across.
Yeah, people are falling into the cliff.
Yeah.
And it was you and your mom. Yeah.
Pretty much. And I didn't want to let her fall.
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted to try everything we could do to make the companies successful enough to support her in the long run.
And pay off the debt then.
Yeah. And like you said, multiple streams.
Yep.
And you know, I would say just a few years ago, we got done paying off some of the debt that we incurred back then. Because if you go 30,000 for 9 months without making any revenue from that source.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit, but not enough to pay the bills.
Yeah.
You can only last so long. Yeah. And that's when you told me you got to get rid of that 30,000.
Yeah. It was an emergency. I was like, I see the idea and it might work, but how long is it going to take us to train your team?
Yeah.
You know, that was the thing. And then you look at how long can we bleed and stay alive.
That's right. And I had to go to Zillow directly, you know, and just tell them, you know, I got to drop down. And ultimately we ended up dropping down to 9,000 and had a much more manageable expense.
Correct. And keep training.
The amount of revenue that we were generating.
Yep.
And then, so we started getting into the positives on that team or that aspect or department.
Yep. Yeah, fixing the spreadsheet that was so ugly to look at, right? Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I used to sit and look at those spreadsheets like constantly,
hoping the numbers would change.
Well, I would put in formulas to say, "What if?" What if we did this? How much money would
and that's a good way to dream. That's almost like a vision board. I mean, you know, it's not all the things you were doing were not wrong. You know, there was just a lot of layers. I mean, you know, and you're running to make this happen, and then like staging is hitting you with the shovel in the shins, and then and then property management's getting audited. Let me hit you again. I mean, like, how many times can you get hit while you're trying to run a race? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just circumstances, and again, it all made sense. I mean, you're not the only one that's made these decisions, and I too, I've lost millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Thinking that this is the best way. And I don't take it back. At first I felt like a loser. By the time I was 31, I had calculated over 4 million in losses in my 20s. And I felt like a failure. I mean, like, I was hiding it too. I didn't tell my wife. I was getting depressed, and I was like, I'm a loser. Yeah. I mean, I actually was starting to tell myself that, and I'm a pretty positive man. You know me. I'm like a super optimist. I was breaking down. I mean, I felt like I was dying. And then it took meeting my mentor, kind of like how we met. And that's why I feel so, I mean, I'm even emotional saying this a lot, but this is probably why this is my purpose. This is why More Business Model, because like someone saved my life pretty much. And like now if I could save other people's lives, but then, you know, the man that came into my life, he said, you're far from a loser. Like, look at all the things you tried. And then he quickly said to me, he said, well, first off, would you do it if you could go back with what you know now? Would you go back and do it the same way? And I said, absolutely not. And he said, oh, so you learned something.
Yeah.
Already showing me like the gratitude in it. And that's where Choose Gratitude, Create Freedoms comes from my first month of coaching, because I realized, wow, I had a lot to be grateful for, and I just had to make some changes. And then that's where the sucking up of like, okay, I didn't do it in the best possible ways. And can I do it better? Yes. And then it's like, okay. And then my 30s changed my life. You know, then it's like, you're not stupid, Steve. You just had, you know, there's some tough, everyone has chance circumstances, like you're going to get a flat tire or this or that, right? But then when you're already running at red line and you get a flat tire, it's like already bad. So I guess I'm saying all this, Mike, because, you know, this is beautiful that you're sharing this with the world on our podcast here. And also I can relate because I've been there. It's not, you know, there's not less. We're not less than anyone else. You know, we just went and our families were on the line, you know, like, you know, my wife decided to stay home with the kids and I totally accepted that and I took it all in. And so, you know, maybe it wasn't the story with my mom like it was for you, but I felt the same. If I let this bridge fall, I'm like letting my 3 kids and my wife fall. Yeah. Which was unacceptable, right? The same for you. So we're holding it all up, and what I found, and I think you found too, and then, you know, I'm going to ping pong it back over to you here, but it's, I thought that I just needed to save all those bridges that I had, when in fact I had to just make one good one. And once I had that mentorship from my mentor, that I wasn't a loser, I just learned a lot. And it, you know, and my other mentor, Carl Buchheit, he always says, there's no failure, there's only feedback. And once I received that feedback and then made a new choice, then everything was back in my grasp. And I actually now have a wonderful life with my kids and my wife, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I did simplify.
Well, that's where my life changed too. I mean, once we took out the businesses, you know, and this was, when was this? 2015, 2016.
Yeah. And how long and I might be interrupting, but how long did it take you? Like, I mean, it's not easy to like let go of 4 companies. Like,
well, the staging, it took a long time to sell, because basically you're just selling inventory and
inventory furniture.
Yeah.
You're basically a furniture salesman.
Nobody really pays for furniture a lot, you know?
Yeah.
But my mom and I worked hard with the multiple buyers on that and ended up selling it. And that took probably the longest.
Okay.
We basically, well, I shouldn't say it took the longest. It just took some time to get through, you know, that process. And then the property management, we sold that rather easily, because there's a lot of people out there that
want 300
the doors.
Yeah,
you know?
300 more houses. Yeah.
Yeah. And we should have done that a long time ago because there are people that could do it better than us.
Yeah, but again, you were holding on to taking care of your family.
Well, one thing we did, though, was I traded almost that property management company for more real estate company.
Oh.
So we purchased another company, another real estate company, and part of that deal was property management going
To them.
to them.
Wow.
Yeah, and they went off and took multiple doors and added ours to it. But I got their agents and their clients and their escrows.
And then that added to your 600 agents that you had.
We just grew by buying other companies.
Okay.
Really. And then we grew organically through PCAR and developing relationships that I
Recruiting.
had over years,
Yeah.
But
Okay, so the staging and the property management kind of went first.
and then the company was 2019. What really changed my life was meeting my wife, right? So I met her in 2015.
I know it was right around the same time we were getting deep. Sorry,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and then so she's like a sounding board for me to keep me on track because I want to go all these different areas, right? But she'll ask the question of me, like, why do you want to do that? And what's it going to do for you? And,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And how much does it cost is a big one,
Yeah.
because I would usually just go for it,
Yeah.
But so having that sounding board and having her in there to be another person that cares about me
Yep.
and our family and
Yep.
so forth is really great. And I appreciate her so much. I mean, it's like night and day compared to where I was
Yeah.
prior to that.
Well, yeah, just this week, spending some time with you and your family, it brings me so much joy to see how relaxed you are compared to 2015.
Back then.
Yeah, you were running on like 4 treadmills at the same time.
Well, I had my son in 2018, and immediately that changed my life because I had never had kids before.
Yeah.
So now I had a wife and I had one child, and I'm 52, 53 years old, and I said, gosh, I kind of want to spend all my time with him.
Of course.
And all my priorities obviously were changing at that time. And I did know from you that I wanted to change my life and focus on something that I'm really good at and that I can get across that cliff and I can build that successful bridge.
Yep.
And that's what I was striving for. Having a child kind of pushed me even further to say, now, you're my priority. My family's my priority, and I want to build something good for you
Yep.
for the future.
Yeah.
And so that's where my focus and my love and my passion is to do something in that realm for them and for me as far as the family goes.
Right.
And so Emily and I, having Grayson, decided that, gosh, I was at the time for our real estate company, we were going around to each of the offices and we were putting in these online marketing training and, teaching them how to close and how to be successful. But we were spending, as a company, we were spending $20,000 in each of these offices per month.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of money at the
Yeah.
time. And so
I mean, now you're getting to, 7 figure. If you're adding all the offices, it's like crazy.
Berkeley and the East Bay,
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, yeah.
And so not everybody was trained up on that. So I would go around to there, and I was getting up at 4 because I didn't want to miss my son.
4 a.m.
Yeah, didn't want to miss my son getting up. So I would go to work, start making calls, doing all this stuff, and get back to the house, see him, as a baby, and then head back to work or whatever.
Wow.
But regardless of that, it changed my life. I wanted to do something for the family, and my whole focus has been different. And we're only concentrating on selling real estate and our 10-person team, which includes my mom. And so we only focus there. We're selling real estate with online leads and a few other things that we do, but being focused on that has, and I didn't believe this to be true. I thought multiple streams of income, And I do have multiple streams within our team,
Right.
because the agents make money and we get a piece of that, right?
Yes.
The better I train them, the more
Yep.
actually comes in, and the more they make.
Yeah.
And they're successful.
Everyone wins.
Everyone, we're trying to win, and now we're just a family. The team is great, and I made a lot of mistakes there with teams, and that's how I learned after 18 years or 20 years of being in real estate.
Yeah.
But regardless, my focus has changed, and we're solely concentrating on just selling real estate, doing it how we know how to do best. My wife is also a realtor, so she is a really good realtor, actually. I mean, she had all the training. Even while laying in bed with me, we'd be talking about real estate, and how to do certain things. So, our revenue has increased so much. I make so much more money now without doing all those multiple things, right?
Yeah.
That I was trying to get across the cliff. And like you said, you can make a lot of money in this business, but it's not all about the money now. It's about quality of life. And I don't need to have the biggest house on the block or the best. I just need to be putting money away for my son and daughter's college, which my wife is great at, saving and putting it away in investments and different things like that. But that's kind of what we do now. And I would say, because we're not concentrating solely on money, we probably make more than attorneys and some doctors, just because we're focusing on the one thing we're good at.
Yes.
And that's, something that you kept drilling into me is, get into something that you're can get across that cliff, make it successful, and meet your goals.
Yeah.
And of course, my goals changed over the years, and now with the kids and the family, it's all about them. But it humbled me out a lot.
Yeah.
It probably did you too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because, in my 20s, growing up in Silicon Valley, it was about like, how big is your company? How many employees do you have? Yeah. You're counting all the things that actually they're not what gets you across the finish line.
Right.
So what if you have, it's like, and I'm not saying anything disrespectful, but in a way you could say, so what, you have 600 agents. Like, what does that mean? Or how many employees I had? What does that mean? You have to get really real about like, what do we want? And then create something around that. And that's why I think I know, and I'm speaking for me, I'm not picking on you. Like for me, myself, I was delusional. Like I was tracking the things that I thought meant success, kind of like your competition with you and your sister. You and your sister. Yeah. Instead of what actually matters. And I did the same thing. I actually found when I put all my family first, I did less and I made more. And I was ready to make less. I actually said, forget all this. I don't care if I make less money. I'm going to give my life to my family and not money. Like, I did think that I'm the provider. I am giving to my family by bringing money, but that's not what they want. They want us. They want the dinners. They want the hugs. They want the conversation. They don't want our paycheck,
Right.
So then I had to learn all those things. And then when I did that, Mike, it was, oh my gosh. Then you look at your bank account, you're like, wait, I'm actually making more. Like it was like that. Delusional. It was like, how the heck is this happening? But because it forced me to focus on less things and be really good at those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was saying the other night, when you have my son asking, like this morning, to go to work with me because he doesn't want me to go, I don't want to go sometimes. I want to spend time with him when he asks. And now I can do that at an older age. I don't think I could have done it when I was 20 or 20 in my 20s.
Yeah.
I was a totally different person, and I know you were too.
Yeah. It wouldn't occur to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm happy that I'm a father now in my 50s.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like grandpa when I take him to school, I should be a grandpa by now. But
I guess according to whom?
yeah,
Right?
according
I
to
mean,
him.
again, you're
Yeah,
judging yourself.
I am.
You know?
Yeah,
Let
I
it
am.
go. Be an awesome dad.
Yeah, and I do. That's all I care about. I want to be around for a long time. You know, that's the goal. I want to make sure I'm healthy, and
Yeah.
so I'm taking extra precautions to try and make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Because you never know, right?
Yeah.
Look at your situation.
Yeah. Tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of friends too that have just had strokes or heart attacks, or
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and they're younger than me.
Yeah.
And so anything can happen at any time. So quality of life, you know, working less, getting rid of the stress would be nice. I mean, I still have some. I mean, nobody's perfect, and I'm not perfect by any means. I haven't made millions and millions of dollars, and I'm the wealthiest guy in the world or anything. I'm just, I'm humble and happy to be a father at 50 something, and you know, and have a great wife that we work together in this, and we think differently too, but it helps.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And you can go buy good food, and you can go swimming with your son. And I mean, you know, you built a quality of life, and, you know, and that's where you have to measure, what do you really want? Because sometimes we'll chase more and more and more when you actually realize we have all that we need, right? Like, what's better than a great dinner with your family and then go sit outside and look at the view out of the back of your house, you know? That could be enough, you know, like, it's, you know, and then if you want something else, okay, great. How much does that cost? Let's figure out the budget. You know, like, I always tell people, did you get a quote? People often say, oh, I want a personal chef or something as an example. And I'm like, oh, how much does that cost in your area? And they're like, I don't know. And then I'm like, well, then how do you know you can't afford it? And they're like, oh, that's a good point. You know, like, we assume, oh, only millionaires have personal chef, but I have, you know, 6-figure earners that figured out that they can do it. And, you know, even I was quite surprised. You know, we have a family of 5, and then when you actually get a chef and they're getting the food, they're preparing the food. And if you cancel out eating out and all your grocery and put all that into the budget, it's not that much more to have someone do all that work for you. And they love it. If they love to cook and you love their food, like, you're giving them a blessing because they get to get paid to cook and live their dream. And then you get to have your thing. So I always tell people the budget. I was with another friend of mine, and he was saying, like, you know, they had made a goal to, like, make $3 million a year. And then it was someone else. It wasn't me. They said, oh, well, what are all the things you want? They did the same lesson, and he was telling us, and then he wrote down all the things he wanted. He said, now, how much do all those things cost? And he put everything he wanted, dream thing, even private jet trips, you know, at $5,000 an hour. He put all that stuff, and he wanted $360,000 a year. $360,000 a year, he would have his dream life. And then there you are working for $3 million, basically 10 times almost.
Yeah.
A little less than 10 times the amount. And you're going to go work your butt off to get 10 times the income when you could actually make $360,000 and live the life of your dreams.
Right.
So this goes back to this whole conversation. Like, I know I did it and you did it too. We just went for the most. You're like, okay, let's go do all these things. And once I have all that money, then I'll have my life. And the whole mission of More Business, More Life is to flip-flop it. No, like, what do you want? Design that. Then let's go find the funding for that, because it's rather, almost every client I've ever had, it's less than we think. And you kind of already said that. You said, now, like, in the bigger scheme, gross income, you're less, but your net income's higher and your life is better.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for you is, like, looking at all these things, just echoing some of the things that we talked about. One, having way too many businesses and working 24/7, being single, not having a family. By making these changes, you know, you were able to have a life and then the other thing is then communicating clearly so you could, you know, do a better job with all your marketing dollars to close more, and then just refocusing on what you want in your life. I guess, you know, without further summarizing, maybe passing it to you, like, in all the work that we did together, what would you say are the greatest results? I know I'm naming some, but how would you put it in your words?
Well, the results is a different mindset on how to attack different things in your life, whether it be business or personal, and finding out what's important to you, and and having a different mindset and how to get there.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, and I didn't even realize this. I'm just thinking of it now, but with my son and my daughter, you know, I'll go to bed with them at their time, you know, just to snuggle up with them at 8:00 or 7:30 or what have you. And most of the time I'll fall asleep first, you know, with them.
Yeah.
But those are times when, I mean, I never used to go to bed till early in the morning, you know, just working or doing something on the computer. And my life has gotten so much better because I just do different things, whether it be a conscious effort or going to bed with my kids, wanting to spend time with them.
Yep.
I feel like I'm retired. You know, I feel like I'm retired, but that's because of what I used to do, I think. You know, when I met you and just running all over the place.
100 miles an hour.
Being crazy. But I feel very much in control, having a different mindset on how to do things. And I sometimes Emily has to rein me in on some ideas that I have.
Yeah.
I think that's for everybody though.
Yeah, you get super creative. I'm that way too. I'll have like 18 ideas, but then like one is good, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's
Exactly.
It's part of the creative process, but you got to throw a bunch of things out there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you helped me with the mindset. You helped me with realizing what the bridges are and what I can do differently to get across the cliff and finally make it and continue working on making it better, developing new ways and new avenues to make that life better.
Yeah.
So you get more life out of your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's beautiful. And having all of this now, what do you think having this does for you?
Well, it's definitely a happier person. I'm not stressed as like I was back then. I was in a different place though. I was, and I don't know how to define depressed really, clinically, but, I felt like I was a depressed person, you know, living in that apartment and 2 desks and just working, had nothing in the fridge, you know, from that standpoint to having 2 kids, a nice house, a great wife, you know, and friends and family around me. That's what I want, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds more like life.
Yeah, it is. It is life.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for everything you've done, you know, for me over the years, because whether or not you know it, we worked together 9 years ago, you said the other day, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, 9 years ago?
Yeah.
But, you know, every day I'm thinking of some of the things that you talked to me about and what helped me get to where I am today, with that mindset. And then having you come speak at my meetings has, you know, kind of has a big impact for me because it brings back all those things. I listen to you again and again, and it brings back a lot of things that we talked about before.
Yeah, like re-anchoring.
Yeah, exactly. And then having you over last night and almost burning my face off.
Yeah. So what happened? So you opened the barbecue and the fire just came straight out of it?
I couldn't tell if the propane was on the barbecue.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I was looking down there and I couldn't smell anything, but I took the lighter and I held it over the barbecue just thinking that it would kind of spark up a little bit. But that thing blew up in my face.
Oh my gosh.
I was thinking, gosh, man, a lot of stuff came out of my barbecue, like whatever it was covering my arms and my face. It turned out to be my burnt hair. Oh so I burned my hair up here, and
you can't tell at all. You're so lucky. I mean, that's crazy, Mike. I mean, here we are.
You would have been a fireball.
Oh my God. Yeah. It would have been all over. And then my wife would have been happy that I don't have a beard anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Good thing I wasn't there when that happened. Oh my gosh. And I'm so glad that you're safe. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's
okay. Note to self. Don't. Yeah. I mean, but still. Yeah. Note to self. Don't put the match like that.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I was worried, okay, how bald am I going to be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can't tell at all. You can't tell at all. Yeah. And that was fabulous. Thanks for having me over for dinner.
Yeah, it was great.
It was fun.
Thanks to Dustin for cooking for us, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I took pictures of him because, and maybe he'll be okay throwing it out there, but, my kids watch and read One Piece, which is a Japanese manga. And there's a character called Sanji. And, Dustin's on your crew. And that's how it is. So Sanji's on the crew and he's the chef. So he's the chef of the crew. And so I got to meet a real life Sanji. He could cook up a storm. Yeah.
We'll probably call him Sanji from now on.
Yeah.
Even though I've never watched.
I'll send you a picture of the thing. I'll try to find an episode that really showcases. They're only 20-minute episodes,
right?
But there's a couple that just really feature Sanji and all his cooking, and basically they're on a ship. For those that don't watch it, it's the whole idea of One Piece is that it's a whole world of pirates. Like the whole world is taken over by pirates. Yeah, and so, but these are conscious pirates, the main characters, and they're there to, go do good things, and they really treat people, better, and they care for people, they care for them. And so they're not, so it's an interesting story because you think of almost like a conscious criminal. It's like an oxymoron. But anyway, that's a whole big part of the story. But Sanji is all about the food. And when you're on a ship, if you do not waste food, right? Because you don't know when the next time you'll eat and all those kinds of things. And so it was just really cool to watch. And even after I said, "Oh, is this your Sanji?" And then there was like a fly coming in, and Dustin quickly grabbed a napkin and covered the food. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, he really is Sanji." He's all about protecting the food. And oh my gosh, it was so tasty. It was
He's
amazing.
a good cook, but he's a better realtor.
Okay.
I would say he's about even in cooking too. I mean, he's a good realtor and a good cook.
Well, and that's funny because pirates need to fight, and Sanji's a great fighter and a great chef. So it's the same thing.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have such a good team now. It is like family,
So yeah, well, they're cooking. We're all eating together, and it's so cool.
Yeah, and we would do anything for each other, and we have gone on little retreats. We need to do another one, but where we'll all go away together.
Yeah,
and spend some time. We were in Napa Valley a couple of years ago, and just had a great time.
It's so beautiful.
Retention has been the key on the teams, and not thinking you need to take every penny. From your team, just making everybody succeed, or helping or striving for everybody to succeed retains people.
Yeah. That's an old Zig Ziglar saying. Do you ever remember Zig Ziglar? And his main saying, I think, it's probably his most quoted thing. He said, "Help enough people get what they want, and you'll have all of what you want." Help enough people get what they want, and you'll have all of what you want.
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward when you think about it. If you help enough people get what they want, then, whether that be real estate, helping enough people get the home that they want, that provides. Helping enough of your team get what they want, you'll have all you want.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Well, I'm curious, in the as we start to get close to wrapping up, it's a similar question, but I'm just curious, out of everything that we did together, what would you say was the most valuable, if you were to pick one?
Obviously was getting rid of the businesses and that were taking me off track of where I really should have been. And that goes along what I said earlier, is that mindset of not having to be involved in every little aspect of all these extracurricular activities, or starting businesses to make money for I mean, multiple streams is good, but when you're doing it to the detriment of everything else, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And honestly, out of all I made a lot of mistakes, right? And I came out of UPS with a decent amount of money because we had stocks and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
If I would have just taken that money and put it under my pillow, you know what I mean? I would have more money today, basically, because I wouldn't have made all those mistakes that I made by spending here and here and here, bad investments, or houses through the crash, different things like that.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just curious to piggyback on that though. But then you would have not learned a whole bunch of these lessons. So I don't know. It's a trade-off, though. I could see where your accounting mind is like calculating the zeros and all that, and it would probably be different. But would you honestly go back and wave the magic wand on that, or do you like all the things you've learned?
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead. If you need to get a drink of water.
So, I probably wouldn't. I think about this for a long time when I got into real estate. I used to say, I should have been in real estate from the beginning. I could have been so much further ahead. But realistically, the things that I learned from the first 20 years, I use in real estate. And I wouldn't have the skills or skill set that I do now.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that first 20 years. So I can't really wave the wand at that, even though I didn't like a lot of those things.
Of course.
And I question, why am I getting sent to New York City? Or, all those things were on my mind back then. But now I look back at it, and like you say, and what you said before, it's feedback, right?
Yeah.
Feedback. The way I looked at it was same thing as feedback, but we're always capable of producing results. It might not be the result you wanted or desired, but it was the result that I got. And good or bad, I could learn from that result, or I knew what not to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was a bad result, okay, I know not to do that again.
Yep.
And I'm just going to go here and try this route.
Yeah.
So feedback.
Yep.
And
I really think you wouldn't be the man sitting before me right now if you didn't go through it. I mean, seriously. I mean, you think about it, we take any one challenge away, you wouldn't be the Mike that I know.
Yeah, that's true. I just wish it didn't. I wish it wouldn't have taken me so long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken a long time for me to grow up, I guess.
Well, and that's probably why you have young kids now.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about it. No, it gives you a forced reason to live a heck of a lot longer. So even though it came later, you're going to be like, you're going to just have to be an old man, and a young old man, right. Go be healthy, live a long life, watch your kids grow up, because I really do look at you and I say, wow, life is not happening to you. It's happening for you. And so you went through all this. You have all this experience. You get to be a wiser dad, maybe change that word from an older dad to a wiser dad, because now you're going to be able to teach your kids differently. Like my son is almost 20 as we're recording this. And I wasn't. Like if I was teaching my son now at the young age, I would be teaching totally different. But it was the way that it was. That was the way my son was meant to be raised and all that stuff. So I'm not saying right or wrong, but there are some gifts that you're going to be able to, and I'm just shining that light for a moment. And then, and then also now you have something really, really amazing. Like you just said in this podcast, what you're living for, this family that you have now. And so you have a lot to live for.
Yeah. Definitely. My wife and my two kids, Grayson and Isla, and then my extended family are my parents and brothers, sisters.
Yep.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, and I learned that losing to my sister.
Yeah.
Fake competition.
Yeah. But there's a lesson in losing sometimes. One time I used to play hockey in my 20s, and I remember we were winning really, really well in this one league. And so then, and I played with my brothers too. I have two brothers. And so that was kind of fun. We all got to play together. But then we decided to go up to this, the highest league that you could, like a pay to play. So we're not getting paid to play. We're paying to play. But it was the highest league that you could at that time in the area that we were playing. And we lost every game. Lost every game. And then I remember we didn't make playoffs, and we're in the locker room and everyone's looking around and we're beat. Like we just got we got our butt handed to us every game that season, and we all looked at each other and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to drop down to the other league that we were winning all the time? Are we going to stay? Is everyone up for playing? Some people were thinking about quitting, like maybe I can't play anymore. Almost all of us decided, I think we only got like one or two new players, but we all decided to play the same league again. And that next season we won the championship. And that always was a lesson in my life. It's like, okay, that sucked. Like losing every game. You start getting like you were like, did we suck that bad? But then we learned how to play better, forced us to play better.
Right.
And I guess that's what we're talking about here, right? I mean, like, because you're smart enough to know like what was happening wasn't working, and the dumb thing, or if we were really stupid, we would have kept doing it. But we're smart enough to say, oh, I need help. So I asked for help. You asked for help. We knew we weren't going to do it the same. Like we knew something had to change, right? And then we did that, and here we are now living much better lives.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
I don't know. Is there anything? I know I was basically just making a statement there. It's not really a question, but I guess in conclusion on all that, maybe just share with the audience, like, because again, we're speaking this out to the world right now. Maybe other people have found the same journey we have. Maybe they're in it. Maybe they're in the unfinished bridges, and they have like 4 unfinished bridges right now. What would you suggest to those people out there listening now that they've heard all this?
Well, I would say that, if you've got multiple streams just going awry, it's not good just to start something, just to have your name on it and be ego driven, or I have a company and I'm the CEO of this company that makes no money.
Yeah.
It does really poorly, but my name's on it and I'm the man.
Yeah.
It's not important. That stuff isn't important. If you have a niche, or if you have something that you're passionate about, and you're passionate about where you want to be and the goals that you want to achieve, don't be afraid to take a leap and get that result or that feedback from it, and if it's not what you wanted, go a different angle, but you know what not to do. And you're always successful at achieving a result.
Yes.
Right. You're always successful at achieving a result. So it may not be the result you desire, but
there's
you
a
learn
result.
what not to do.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that more life is more important, and it really dictates your success in life. And it's not about the money or the income or the ego or the name. It's about, back at UPS, we used to use a term, what a person does when nobody's looking is the measure of a person, right? A measure of a person, what he or she does when nobody's looking.
Right.
And so I always think about that too. Like even the most simple things, do you pick up the piece of garbage on the ground that's outside and throw it away, knowing that nobody is going to be there to give you kudos for doing so.
Right.
But that's just who you are as a human. When you go to the bathroom, do you wash your hands before leaving?
Yeah.
Or because nobody's around, you don't wash your hands?
Yeah.
I mean, you think of those things and think in that manner, and it starts to change your mindset
right
into really understanding what's important.
Yeah. It's really good, Mike. Yeah. And what do you think, just a few other closing thoughts after all this conversation and reminiscing on this path? What about how would you share getting help, asking for help? Because I know you and I both experienced this. It was really hard to ask for help. Maybe share that to the audience for other people listening, that because you and I are not the only ones that ever dealt with this. What would you say to that?
Having a coach or a mentor was really something I never used to think about. I always envisioned myself as the mentor or the coach, playing sports all my life. I wanted people to come to me, but that's because at a young age, I felt I needed that from people. I needed to be needed or wanted, but it really was a detriment to me because I didn't work on myself, so to speak. I was faking it on the outside, and I was somebody inside that didn't want to let people down. So I would be like you. I would be studying and researching, and I had to have the degrees and all this kind of stuff just to make it looked like I was, held at a higher level or something.
Yeah.
And
and it really was only for yourself.
It's really for myself. Yeah. And then, you have to get past that to ask for help.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it and you start thinking about your family, and am I letting everybody down? My mother, what am I doing with these businesses? I'm like running around in circles and not achieving getting over the bridge. And you get down to the point where it's like, maybe I should ask for some help or mentorship because somebody's been through it.
Yeah.
And I realized that once too when I read a book called The Nice Guy.
Okay.
And I felt like I was a nice guy, but the nice guy is not a good connotation. It's, if you're always the nice guy because you want to be liked and you want to be needed, that's more how that book went. And when I read that book, I said, gosh, this book is exactly like me. And it was written in 1952,
wow.
And I'm thinking, man, there is more people like me out there that are having these issues from maybe a childhood thing or whatever, how you viewed yourself as a child.
Yep.
And so I started thinking, gosh, there are a lot of people that have been through this. Why am I going through it? I've always been the one to go to the best person in the industry to find out what they're doing. But I'm not doing that for myself because, millions of people have already lived it. And here I am trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So asking for help from you or advice that you've given or the mindset that you've changed or the bridges that we've crossed out and set on a success path have been invaluable to me, and that's where everybody should go. You need somebody to be that sounding board and to give you that extra push to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't live my life without help ever again. Like pretty much anything I want, I'm always seeking who is there and how can I learn? Because I found that it collapses time frames. I look at how many years I spent that I could have done faster if I would have. It's like driving around a neighborhood to find the address and you could just plug it into GPS. So like mentors to me is like GPS, and then you just get right to the door that you want to go.
Yeah. I wish I would have realized that earlier because even last night I had an epiphany, but with you saying that and, the age that I'm at, the age that you're at, and you went out and asked for help sooner than I did. And here I am 58 years old, trying to get down to the bottom of things. Yeah. And you've made some leaps and bounds a lot quicker than I did. And if I would have asked sooner, I could have skipped all that and used some of the mistakes that a mentor made instead of me making the mistakes.
Yeah, one of my mentors said, smart people learn from their mistakes, which is good.
Yeah.
Wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was getting at without the right words.
Yeah, no. I mean, and I didn't even write that, Mike. Someone else said those words. I'm just echoing it. It is nice when someone is a good writer. But it's, but that's the essence of what we're both saying. And, for me, it's interesting that you say that right now because for me, 12 years from 19 to 31, I thought that was that's hard time. Like I felt like I was in jail, figuratively.
Yeah.
But I locked myself up in these businesses that I thought were going to make me all successful. And I was like overweight, having heart palpitations, panic attacks. I was depressed. I felt like a loser. I was not being a present father by then because my firstborn was born by that time when I was 31. And I wasn't being a good husband. In fact, I was not even cool. I had no energy left, no emotional bandwidth. I wasn't anything that my wife could really rely on in any kind of level of conversation. I mean, if anything, I just brought home enough money to pay the bills. And if that was barely too, there were sometimes I'm having this, millions of dollars come into the company and I'm wondering, am I going to make the mortgage? I mean, I had all those moments like you even shared now, and I still wasn't asking for help. And so for me, I'm just saying all this because those 12 years of my life were like forever. And I feel like at 31, I was late. And, and here we're both saying, I think you'll always feel late. Like once you do this and you find it's kind of like a trap door, you're like, wait, they had a door here? I always use that metaphor. When was this here? It was there the whole time. I think no matter how many years any of us spend, when you find that door is there, you're like, darn it. But you have to just accept it for whatever reason. This was the time that you were meant to have that door open for you. Yeah. So it's beautiful. I so appreciate you, sharing your life with me. I'm glad that we've become friends. I'm glad that I've been able to help you in your life and just have this relationship and even have this echo of a conversation because, even though our journeys have been different, there's a lot of overlap and, it's just nice. And it brings me joy to see you and your family with all this happiness now. And you did that. This isn't, I'm not taking that from an ego standpoint. Yeah, maybe I pointed you in the right directions, but you did it. You took action. Like you were I never took over your plane. I might have been like, Mike Bailey, this is the tower. You might want to, go a few degrees to your left there. I look at it that way. Like I'm just giving you a little guidance, but you flew the plane. You did this. You changed your life. And so I think it was teamwork, brother.
Yeah, it was. And I appreciate you too. My wife, my mom, we all appreciate what you did for us. And we look forward to a lot of years to come,
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thank you for listening or watching this, however you're consuming this podcast. I always say this, if you're on our newsletter, hit reply. Let us know what the most valuable part of this episode was. And if you have questions, ask. We actually read this stuff. It's not a one-way communication. We want to hear from you, those of you that are on our newsletter. And if you're not on the newsletter and this is the first time you popped onto one of our shows, then all you need to do is text WOW to 72,000. That's 72000, text the word WOW. It'll prompt you to join our newsletter for free. And then we give this information out all the time because this is truly where my heart is. More business and more life, helping you have the freedom you desire. So until our next episode, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.